This paper is about the optimal design of a matchmaking platform. The research question is how to best help customers find suitable service providers at good prices. There are four types of platform designs observed in practice. Some platforms have customers search for providers. Examples include Airbnb, Google Local Services, and House. Other platforms have providers search for customers who post job requests. Examples include Amazon Mechanical Turk, Bark, and Porch. Other platforms allow both sides of the market to search for suitable partners and initiate contact. Examples include Care.com, Upwork, and Yelp. Finally, there are platforms that implement centralized matching, in which the platform recommends a limited number of suitable providers to each customer. Examples include Amazon Home Services, Angie, HomeAdvisor, TaskRabbit, Thumbtack, Uber, and Lyft. This paper makes two contributions. The first is to derive suitable market conditions for each of the four platform designs above. The second is to establish the near optimality of each design using information theory. Here is the summary of insights. The near optimal platform design depends on market characteristics as represented by this chart. On the horizontal axis, this corresponds to the degree in which customer preferences are easy to describe or satisfy. Easy to describe means that it can be readily captured by a short questionnaire. And easy to satisfy means that the customer has high preferences for many providers. Similarly, the vertical axis corresponds to the degree in which provider preferences are easy to describe or satisfy. Consider several illustrative examples. In the market for short-term rentals, provider preferences are easy to describe or satisfy. If I'm an Airbnb host, I can easily describe which dates are available, and I'm not that picky about which customer comes as long as they pay and are relatively clean. In the market for lawn care, customer preferences are easy to describe or satisfy. If I want someone to mow my lawn each week, I'm not that picky about who comes as long as the job is done. However, in the market for childcare providers, both families and nannies can be very picky about their preferred partners, and these preferences are idiosyncratic and hard to systematically describe upfront. In the market for furniture assembly, both sides of the market can easily specify what they're looking for and are not that picky about their preferred partners. The near optimal platform design will be different in these markets. Customer search will be shown to be near optimal when provider preferences are easy to describe or satisfy. Provider search is near optimal when customer preferences are easy to describe or satisfy. Both sides search is a suitable design when neither sides are easy to describe or satisfy. And centralized matching is near optimal when both sides are easy to describe or satisfy. These insights are shown using the following model based on the assignment gave of Shapley-Schubick 1971, which is a classical model of matching with transfer payments. I will first review this classical model and then describe what is different. There's a set I of customers and a set J of providers. Each agent is interested in matching with at most one partner. Without loss of generality, these sets have equal cardinality, since we can always add dummy customers or providers representing being unmatched. The surplus of a match between a customer and a provider is equal to the benefit received by the customer minus the cost incurred by the provider. This total surplus is divided as follows. The customer's surplus U is equal to the benefit minus the payment to the provider. And the surplus of the provider V is equal to the payment minus the cost. All this is in the classical assignment game, which assumes full information. What's different in this paper is incomplete information, in which we assume only the customer knows her benefit and only the provider knows his cost. The benefits and costs are assumed to be drawn from these commonly known distributions. And these distributions are based on information from platform questionnaires, which agents complete about what they're looking for and who they are. A market then is represented by the set of customers and providers, as well as these distributions B and C, which may differ for each IJ pair. An ideal matchmaking outcome is as follows. Define an epsilon stable outcome as a matching and a vector of payments which induce agent surpluses that satisfy the following conditions. The first condition, no epsilon blocking pair, says that no pair of agent will gain more than epsilon each by leaving the platform and matching on their own. On the left-hand side, that's what they currently get. And if you give them epsilon each, that has to be greater than or equal to what they can get by matching on their own. Individual rationality says that surpluses are non-negative. If a platform can guarantee an epsilon stable outcome, then it guarantees high social welfare because the surplus per agent is within epsilon of the full information maximum. This can be shown for any epsilon stable outcome. Moreover, there are benefits in terms of competition because a rival platform cannot steal users by matching them better, since if a pair is matched differently, by definition, they will get at most epsilon each. The research question becomes how to facilitate an epsilon stable outcome with minimal communication. Here, communication is a proxy for the hassle of matchmaking, the back and forth interaction needed. We'll study this by considering a matchmaking protocol, which specifies a sequence of steps whereby agents communicate their private information and obtain an epsilon stable outcome. We'll keep track of the amount of communication needed as a measure of the efficiency of a system of matchmaking. A matchmaking protocol can be interpreted as platform design plus agent behavior. Assume for now that agents behave truthfully. The paper later shows that they have little incentives to deviate. I will give a few concrete examples of matchmaking protocols in a few slides. But first, let's consider this summary of insights slide again and make it more precise. We'll define parameters di and dj that correspond to the two axes. Here is the mathematical definition. Let me explain. Consider dj. This says that the cost is close to the lower support on the bar Cij with a certain probability dj. And dj is high when provider preferences are easy to describe or satisfy. Because easy to describe means that the platform questionnaires already provides a good estimate. And easy to satisfy means that the cost is low for many customers. Similarly, di is high if customer preferences are easy to describe or satisfy, since easy to describe means that the upper support B is already a good estimate. And easy to satisfy means that the benefit is high for many providers. Now, let's show why customer search is a good design when provider preferences are easy to describe or satisfy. We'll define a matchmaking protocol representing customer search and show that it is suitable when the parameter dj is high. In this protocol, we first initialize certain quantities where the v hat corresponds to the surplus required by each provider to obtain his service. And c hat is a customer's estimated cost. And this estimated cost is based on the lower support, so it's an optimistic estimate. Customers then contact providers in decreasing order of estimated surplus based on the benefit she has minus the estimated surplus of the provider and the cost of service. If the provider can actually serve at this low cost estimate, then the provider is tentatively matched to the customer and increments V hat by epsilon. This means that the next customer who wants to take his business needs to at least offer him epsilon more. If the cost is higher than the customer's estimate, then the provider communicates his actual cost to the customer who updates her estimate. The proposition is that the above always yields an epsilon stable outcome, and with high probability, the number of interactions per customer is on the order of 1 over dj. And here an interaction is each iteration of step 2, where a customer contacts the provider. So when dj is high, each customer needs to only contact a few providers. Similarly, we can show that under provider search, when customer preferences are easy to satisfy or describe, they only need to contact a few customers before finding a good match. Now, let's show that both side search is suitable when both DI and DJ are low. We'll define a matchmaking protocol that's a modification of customer search. Here, we have V hat and C hat as before, except the cost estimates are initialized based on another threshold Z, which is a parameter of the protocol that depends only on commonly known information. In step 2, providers contact customers for whom the cost is less than the threshold, and the customer will update their cost estimate. Interpret this as providers reaching out to certain customers with special deals. Customers then contact providers exactly as before. This example illustrates why this is a good design when DI and DJ are very low. In this example, DI and DJ is 1 over 2n, where n is the number of agents on each side. And one can show that in this example, the number of interactions per customer in customer search is on the order of n, for provider search on the order of n, where both side search is a constant. This is because when customers and providers are very picky about whom they really prefer, both sides can just share that information, and afterwards the market can clear much more quickly. The proposition is that in general, the above always yields an epsilon stable outcome, and under a suitable choice of Z, which is given in the paper, with high probability, the number of interactions per customer is on the order of square root n. And this bound doesn't depend on DI or DJ, whereas the previous bound 1 over DJ does. So when DJ is less than 1 over square root n, this is a better protocol. The paper also shows that centralized matching is suitable when neither side are very picky. And this makes sense because in this case, the platform can just recommend a few random matches, and with high probability, one of the recommendations will be good. Let's conclude by discussing what we mean by near optimal. And this is based on information theory. We ask the question, for a given class of markets, in the worst case, how many bits of communication per agent is needed to achieve an epsilon stable outcome with high probability? The answers are summarized in this chart. The first column classifies markets according to the parameter DJ, with various lower bounds on DJ. And in the first row, where DJ is relatively high, a lower bound on the communication per agent is log n. This is because even to specify the identity of a partner requires log n bits of communication. And this is matched to a constant factor by customer search, because when DJ is a constant, each customer only needs to reach out to a constant number of providers. And similarly, when DJ is moderately low, customer search is also near optimal. Here, it achieves the lower bound up to a log n factor. And finally, for all markets, we have a square root n lower bound, and this is almost matched by both sides search. The paper also contains a near optimality result for centralized matching. The full paper is available on SSRN, and it extends the analysis to allow for strategic agents, correlated preferences, many-to-one matching, dynamic arrival of customers, and an alternative model without transfer payments. Hence, the insights in this slide are robust, and I look forward to discussing with you and hearing your comments during the poster session.